Hey guys, Dr. Tiff here. Just wanted to talk today about counting macros. At Studio 2 and the Diet Doc Nashville, our whole nutritional approach is based on macronutrients. And for some of us, this is a whole new concept because we've been so used to counting calories or a percentage breakdown, 40% carbs, 40% protein, 30% fat, that we've never really dialed into the grams of each of those macronutrients. A macronutrient is a protein, a carbohydrate, and a fat. There are three macronutrients within the nutritional profile of foods. And the concept of macro counting has really become a staple amongst the bodybuilding / figure competitor community. And the success that those athletes have in achieving lean body compositions and a high level of lean body mass, skeletal muscle mass, is substantial. And we have to, as practitioners and as scientists, many of us look at those types of patterns within a population and say, what is it that they're doing that enables them to not just lose weight, but to maintain a body composition that is reflective of high levels of health and fitness. And certainly within every community there are extremes. There are people who achieve body fats that would not be healthy for the general population. But by and large, especially amongst natural competitors in those two industries, they can achieve lean body compositions, both male and female, while still holding on to muscle mass. And the alternative of that is weight loss programs that target strictly the weight on the scale and predict success if you've lost 50 pounds, whether it's muscle or fat. At Studio 2 and at the Diet Doc, this is not our philosophy. We don't care if you lose 50 pounds if it's all muscle, because that's not success. That's setting you up for long-term failure, because our metabolism is dictated by the amount of lean body mass, specifically muscle mass, that we have on our body. Muscle, lean mass, fuels our metabolism. So the higher our percentage of muscle to fat ratio is, or if you say that in the opposite way, the less body fat and the more muscle you have, the more metabolically efficient you have the opportunity to be. And of course, metabolism is a multi-pronged mechanism, but at the end of the day, lean body mass is a predictor of our metabolism. And the ability of those competitors to achieve those things, and the way they get there through counting macronutrients, many of them, is successful. And so we have tried to take what we can from that learning experience and to adapt it to a general population and to create opportunities for all types of individuals, and no matter what their performance goals may be, to achieve body composition goals that allow them to sustain lean body mass and to really target fat loss, and to provide them a nutritional plan that sets them up for success in this way. And so many plans that strictly count calories without looking at how many of those calories are coming from fat, from protein, from carbohydrate, or again, percentages where, hey, I hit my percentages for the day, but maybe I didn't eat enough food. If I only ate 1,000 calories, who cares if 30% of it was from fat? So it's both the total amount of intake and the breakdown within that intake. And that's where macronutrients come into play. So how do we count a macro? Well, every food product you eat is made up of some combination of macronutrients. For example, a fruit is primarily carbohydrate, if not all carbohydrate. Some starchy vegetables or leafy greens may have a little bit of a protein element to them, but a fruit is a sugar or a carbohydrate. A potato, a pasta, anything that's a grain is a carbohydrate primarily. Again, it might have a little bit of a protein element to it, especially if it's been processed and enriched. A lot of times you'll see now protein plus pasta. They've obviously infused some amount of protein into that carbohydrate source. Other food items that are more of a combined food item, like a peanut butter, or I've got here a can of soup. Okay, so you guys, some of you may, especially in the winter time, you might go with a can of soup. And if you look on the back there, you can see, right, it's got a breakdown of all of the nutrients that are in that food. So what we're concerned with from a macro counting standpoint is total fat, 2 grams, total carbohydrate, 10 grams, and total protein, 5 grams. Okay, there's some consideration to take for fiber and also for sugar, especially if we're working with a diabetic patient that needs to watch their insulin resistance and their insulin spikes. But for the most part, these other breakdowns are sort of peripheral. Okay, so when we count our macros, we say, okay, this can of soup, okay, if I have 1 serving of it, which is 1 cup, I will have consumed 10 carbohydrates, I will have consumed 2 grams of fat, and I will have consumed 5 grams of protein. Now, another thing to consider is how many servings is in the container. So if you eat this whole can of soup, right, you've had about 2 servings of that, so you would double what's on the food label. 4 grams of fat, 20 carbohydrates, 10 protein. Okay, so that is a very 40,000 foot view of counting macronutrients, but through the course of the day, if you're counting macros, your goal is to assess the number of grams of those 3 nutrients in every food that you eat. Okay? So you have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. You have 1 cup of Cheerios. Okay? How many carbs? 25 grams of carbohydrate, probably less than 2 grams of fat and minimal protein. Okay? Did you add milk to it? How many ounces? So it is a meticulous process. I'm not going to sit here and look at you and say it's easy. I'm not going to sit here and look at you and say that it's the simple route to success. It takes measuring, it takes analyzing, it takes researching the foods that you eat. But I'll tell you what, if you dial it in, if you put in the time up front, if you invest in a food scale, if you learn to measure and weigh and eyeball foods from looking at what you're eating at home, then when you go out to eat and they bring you a 12-ounce chicken breast, you'll be able to look at that and say, you know what, that's 3 servings of chicken for me. And if you have enough protein left in your day, right, because you're logging ahead of time before you eat, right, write it before you bite it, this is my philosophy, then you'll know, okay, I could probably have 6 ounces of chicken tonight because I didn't have as much protein at lunch, because my soup only had 10 grams of protein in it and I didn't add anything to it. So in order to hit my numbers for the day, my macronutrients, then I can put in a little bit more protein in that meal. So the concept is a flexible approach. You've got a bank account. You've got grams of carbohydrates, grams of protein, grams of fat that are right for your body and your metabolism based on the body composition analysis that we provide, based on how much you're training through the week, based on your percent of body fat starting out. And hitting those numbers is up to you. So you can eat the foods that you like. You can combine the foods that you're craving, and you can make room for things that you really want if you're going out with friends, because if it fits in your bank account, then your body can handle it. The amount of food and the amounts and the balance that is provided to you. So that is what macro counting is. Now, in order for you to figure out what your macronutrient breakdown is, we just have to do an assessment. We'll have to talk about some history of what you've been eating, look at some baseline days. But once you have that bank account, that's where the fun starts, because then you get to play with the numbers and you get to figure out, you know, I'd like to eat something with that soup. What could I bring in? Look on your app. We use MyFitnessPal. It's one of our favorites. But macronutrients, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, and then of course there are micronutrients, your vitamins and your minerals and things that aren't the primary nutrients within foods. And all of those will come together if you get in those bigger macronutrients that you need, the vitamins, the minerals, and they're coming from whole food sources like fruits and vegetables and lean meats and protein sources. Those macronutrients are going to be within those foods, and your body will utilize those as well. So macro counting, great opportunity to maintain lean mass, build muscle if you're training, lose body fat, but most importantly, it allows flexibility around what you eat, and it allows your body to have the balance that it needs and not just a set number of calories. So if you're interested, give us a call. Let us set your macro goals, and good luck.